Middle East is one huge dumpster fire at the moment. Israel is locked in an existential battle with the Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Iran has been retaliating against them as well. For the Iranian diplomats that have been killed by Israeli airstrikes in Syria and Lebanon. Amidst all of this, Islamists in India have marched on the streets in solidarity with Hezbollah after its chief Syed Hassan Nasrallah was eliminated by Israel in a targeted airstrike. Now you might be wondering, why is it that despite all of this, major Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan and Qatar have remained neutral over Israel? In this video, we are going to tell you the exact reason why. This video is divided into 4 parts. Part 1. Why is only Iran in conflict with Israel over Gaza and not Saudi Arabia? Part 2. The role of Hezbollah as Iran's proxy in Lebanon. Part 3. The likely outcome of the current war in the Middle East. And Part 4. The impact of the conflict on India. Part 1. Iran versus Israel and the Shia-Sunni divide. First, you have to understand the major divide in the Middle East. Apart from their universal hate for Jews, that is the Shia-Sunni divide. Despite the fact that Shias and Sunnis are both Islamic sects, there are many historical and theological reasons for the conflict between them. But let's just put it out there. Shias and Sunnis hate each other. And in many regions of the world, one sect doesn't consider the other Muslims and brands them kafirs. It happens in our neighboring country Pakistan, just by the way. That is the reason why Iran and Saudi Arabia are locked in an eternal enmity. Iran hates Israel. Yes, but it hates Saudi Arabia just as much because Iran is the biggest Shia power in the world, while the Saudis are the world's preeminent Sunni power. If you remember, during his presidency, Donald Trump mediated the signing of the Abraham Accords between Israel and several Sunni countries like UAE, Bahrain, Morocco and Sudan, which normalized relations between the Arab world and the Jewish state. There were lots of talks going around that soon the accords will be signed between Israel and Saudi Arabia as well. But that somehow never materialized. Donald Trump's sole agenda behind the Abraham Accords was to unite Israel and the Sunni Arab countries against their common enemy, Shia Iran. Now I know what you're thinking. Now you're thinking that Palestinians are Sunni. Then why is Iran backing them but not the Sunni Arab states with the exception of Qatar? Well, Palestine has long served as the uniting factor between Shia and Sunni world against the Jewish state. So Iran supporting them is not surprising by any stretch. However, the major Sunni Arab countries are basically client states of the USA, whose ruling monarchies are dependent almost entirely on the USA for their defense. This is the case with Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, etc. The ruling monarchies of these states are forever more than willing to do the USA's bidding, provided they receive a good deal. The Sunni Arab countries have made a cold calculation that Israel is here to exist, and the resistance to its existence is futile, given the USA's tremendous support behind it. Therefore, there is no point in resisting it for the sake of resistance, when all the parties can benefit through good deals. Palestinians were happily sacrificed at the altar of material prosperity. The reason why Iran could not participate in it is because the deals between Sunni Arab world and the Jewish were struck precisely so that they could focus on combating Iran instead. That is the real reason why Iran is the only major regional power backing Palestine at the moment. Part 2. The role of Hezbollah as Iran's proxy. Firstly, let's understand what is Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a Shia terrorist outfit or militant outfit or an armed group, as our friends at Sky News call them, or whatever you want to call it. Iran was involved in the creation of Hezbollah from the very beginning. Iran nurtured it during its infancy with funds, arms and training for its recruits. Iran helped them with operational support and planning as well. Hezbollah is Iran's gambit in Lebanon through and through, to the point that Hezbollah considers Ayatollah Khamenei their own supreme leader as well. Hezbollah emerged out of the confluence of multiple Shia insurgent groups that operated in Lebanon during the civil war in the country. It managed to remain the only outfit that did not have to surrender its weapons as a part of the peace settlement that ended the civil war. Hezbollah, which literally means the party of God, is a major political power as well in Lebanon, with several members as a part of the government. Since the 1980s, it has been involved in several terror attacks both in Lebanon and the Middle East, as well as far-off places like Europe and South America. Since the beginning of the 21st century, especially after the USA's disastrous invasion of Iraq in 2004, Hezbollah has played a major role in strengthening Iran's influence in the region. More significantly, however, it played a critical role in ensuring that the USA's attempt at regime change in Syria and their efforts to remove Bashar al-Assad from power failed in epic proportions. Assad, the Syrian president, is a Shia himself and has long shared a friendly relationship with Iran. When the USA incited the Syrian civil war against him, it was Iran that came to his aid along with Russia. And with Iran came Hezbollah, which sent hundreds and thousands of its fighters to defend Assad and Syria from Sunni terrorist groups. Remember how ISIS suddenly disappeared from the face of the map? Yes, that was due to the efforts of Hezbollah, Iran and Russia, not the USA as they would like to claim. Since the beginning of its conflict with Gaza, Israel has been regularly bombing Syria as well, which is in no position to retaliate at the moment. And just pay attention here to the seemingly bizarre foreign policy of the USA. Why did the USA arm Sunni terrorists in the region? To counter Iran's influence. How did Iran's influence in the region increase so rapidly? Iraq is a major Shia country that was ruled by Sunni dictator Saddam Hussein. When the USA got rid of Saddam Hussein to spread democracy in the country, Iraq naturally fell into Iran's sphere of influence due to its majority Shia population. What did the US do to counter this? Fund Sunni terrorist groups such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda. It might seem crazy on the surface of it, but it makes perfect sense when you realize that USA's military-industrial complex, which rules the USA basically, is dependent on forever wars for their sustenance. Part 3. The likely outcome of the current war in the Middle East. So let me just put it out there. I am not sitting here with some crystal ball that gives me accurate predictions about the future. I'm just making predictions based on how I see things unfolding in the current scenario. Of course, I could be wrong, but it's difficult to predict things accurately in such a fast developing situation. So please don't bet your money on my predictions here. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's just get into it. Iran is not a puny little power that can be swatted with the swipe of a hand. It has a legitimate defense industry that produces some of the most advanced weapons in the 21st century. Iran's Shahid drones have been a legitimate game changer for Russia in its war against Ukraine. More than that, Iran has a fearsome arsenal of ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles and other conventional weapons of war. While it undoubtedly won't be able to match Israel's firepower, given that the latter has the unconditional backing of the USA, it does have more than enough tricks up its sleeves to give Israel more than just a bloody nose. Even without Russia coming to its aid, Iran has Hezbollah, Hamas and other Shia militant groups in Iraq to rough up the USA and Israel. But here's the thing. With its pager explosions, Israel has demonstrated that its intelligence capabilities are unmatched in this fight. And Israel has a lot of leverage within Iran as well. Former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad recently revealed that the head of Iran's anti-Mossad unit was an Israeli agent himself. There is no saying how deep that rabbit hole goes. More than anything else, what Iran will be deeply worried about is the penetration of the Iran government and its agencies by Israel's intelligence assets. And you cannot win a war if your own government has been infiltrated by the enemy. And the government of Iran has plenty of opposition among the Iranian population. Of course, it is nowhere near the regime change level of opposition that we saw recently against Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh, but it is there. And a lot of them are within the government too. And these are the fault lines that Israel and the USA will definitely exploit during a full-fledged war. What Iran will really be worrying about is the stability of its own regime, because on the battlefield it is more than likely that it will end in a stalemate. The reason why I believe that defeating Iran through conventional means will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, is because if push comes to shove, Iran can block the Strait of Hormuz with minimal resources. The Strait of Hormuz lies between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, and 40% of the oil trade in the world passes through it. If Iran blocks that, then you can imagine what will happen to the cost of oil. The strait is Iran's trump card and is the knife that it holds against the world. Part 4. The impact of the conflict on India. Unfortunately, India has a significant chunk of population that is forever willing to march on the streets for events halfway across the world. Recently we saw this after Israel eliminated Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. Thousands of Islamists in Kashmir and elsewhere hit the streets in protest. It was reminiscent of the Khilafat movement a century ago, when Islamists in British India rioted and engaged in mass violence in the support of Ottoman Empire. Similarly, Islamists in India are marching for Hezbollah even though the Sunni Arab world was immensely happy watching him die. It is definitely a funny world we live in. Nevertheless, the most significant impact the conflict in the Middle East could have for India is an increase in the oil prices. India is one of the world's largest importers of oil. And even though we have been buying a lion's share from Russia during the past couple of years, a hike in the oil prices due to the Middle East war will impact India as well. Governments can get elected and collapse in India due to the fluctuating oil prices because of its impact on the overall economy. So that is the biggest cause of concern for India. Apart from that, it could lead to attempted terrorist attacks on Indian soil, given the perception that India is supporting Israel during the conflict, even though the government has maintained a thoroughly neutral stance. But zealots have their own way of interpreting reality, and it wouldn't be surprising if some of them tried to attack India for the events in the Middle East. It still remains a fluid situation, and it's certainly not guaranteed that we will see a full-fledged war between Israel and Iran break out in the Middle East. But it is an extremely dangerous situation right now. The world as we know it could very well change within the next few years, if not months. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment and share our video among your friends for good karma. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. My name is Sudhanshu. I am going to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.